From CBS News Bay Area, this is the Evening Edition.
Now at 6, tensions boil over in Minneapolis after another person was killed by federal agents. More on the growing calls to get ICE out of Minnesota. Plus, folks across the Bay Area are taking to the streets in solidarity with Minneapolis. We'll have live team coverage of demonstrations in San Francisco and the South Bay. And later, dozens of coaches at Newark High School are about to lose their jobs. Why they're being forced to reapply. Live from the CBS studios in San Francisco, I'm Andrea Nakano. Brian Hackney has the night off. We begin in Minnesota, where another person was killed today by federal immigration agents. The man was identified as 37-year-old Alex Jeffrey Preddy, an ICU nurse without a criminal record and a lawful gun owner with a permit to carry. His death is causing massive protests to break out in Minnesota. This is video from earlier today. You can see the demonstrators filling the intersection, and many have also taken to the streets here in the Bay Area as a show of solidarity. We're going to have live coverage of that in just a second, but first, CBS News' Lana Zak is in Minneapolis with details on the shooting that prompted it all.
Another fatal shooting as ICE raids continue in Minnesota. Officials say a 37-year-old American citizen was shot and killed by federal agents.
Officers arrived and found an adult male with multiple gunshot wounds when they arrived. Life-saving aid was being rendered, and he was transported by ambulance to Hennepin County Medical Center, where he was later pronounced deceased.
Minneapolis residents were stunned.
A neighbor was murdered. One of our regular pub attenders was right there. I mean, they were murdered on the street.
ICE officials say the protester killed was in possession of a firearm.
You can see the gun here on the screen there that individual possessed. It appears to be a semi-automatic, high-capacity type, possibly a Sig Sauer 9mm.
But Minnesota officials say the deceased had a valid gun permit and condemned the use of deadly force.
I just saw a video of more than 6 masked agents pummeling one of our constituents and shooting him to death. How many more residents, how many more Americans need to die or get badly hurt for this operation to end?
Tensions again inflamed. Protesters took to the streets today.
We're hearing bottles being broken in the streets. There is a literal dumpster fire over there.
The shooting comes one day after thousands took to the streets of Minneapolis to protest ICE activities in Minnesota, and roughly 8 weeks into Operation Metro Surge, in which thousands of ICE agents first descended upon the state.
Here at home, advocates have organized emergency protests in San Francisco and San Jose. Over in San Francisco, Muni says demonstrators on Market Street are impacting service there. That's where we find our Da Lin live. Da, what is going on right there at the scene now?
Yeah, we have several hundred protesters gathering in front of the Department of Homeland Security building here in downtown San Francisco, not too far away from the corner of Samsung and Washington Streets. These protesters marched from the Ferry Building area all the way to this location to protest against ICE. They are extremely angry and frustrated with what happened in Minneapolis this morning, the killing of Alex Preddy. There are a lot of signs here saying arrest ICE. Some signs call for ICE out for good, and some signs even calling ICE agents murderers. Here's what a couple of protesters had to say earlier. Take a listen.
There was the shooting 2 weeks ago, which I thought was awful, and today with the other shooting, I was just like, you know, enough's enough. It's really upsetting, and I just felt like I needed to get up and come do something.
I didn't think, I felt, I cried, I broke it. I mean, it's just too much.
I want to give you a live look on Samsung Street here. Again, not too far away from the corner of Washington Street. You see a lot of police officers. You see the flashing lights, patrol cars, officers monitoring the situation. So far, it's been very peaceful. Obviously, there's this street here that is closed off to traffic, but for the most part, that's the only disruption. Everybody here has been just for the most part upset, but very peaceful. We'll continue to monitor the situation. For now, live here in San Francisco. I'll send it back to you, Andrea.
All right, thank you so much. Da Lin live in San Francisco. Now, anti-ICE protesters also gathered in San Jose earlier this evening. Things have since died down. Our Amanda Harry is there live. Amanda?
Yeah, the protest ended just a few minutes ago, but with just a few hours' notice, they had more than 100 people here at Mexican Heritage Plaza. Then they marched down this street, Alum Rock, for a few blocks before turning around and coming back. Take a look at this video. This is what it looked like here just a short time ago. Several organizations here in San Jose came together to put on this protest. They called it the man who was shot and killed by federal immigration office in Minnesota this morning. We spoke to one woman here from San Jose who says she felt like she needed to be a part of this.
It's really important for me to be here. I'm a teacher in San Jose, and I want to make sure that my students know that there are people here that are going to fight for them, and seeing that what's happening in Minnesota and how many Minnesota neighbors are fighting for their neighbors, I feel like it's important for people in San Jose to know how many neighbors will fight for them.
We'll hear from more people tonight at 11.
Much, Amanda, live in San Jose. Well, last hour we heard from Mayor Barbara Lee. She condemned the ICE shooting in Minneapolis, saying the immigration crackdown treats American communities as combat zones. She also urged demonstrators in the Bay Area to be cautious.
I understand our First Amendment rights and we have to peacefully protest, but please don't take the bait. I know these people. I know what they want to do. Their military is what they want to send into our communities. And so don't give them that opening. But yes, we're going to keep protesting. We're going to exercise our First Amendment rights. They're trying to even take those away. Don't let them do that, but don't take the bait.
And Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem also weighed in on the incident earlier, saying this.
This individual showed up to impede a law enforcement operation and assaulted our officers. They responded according to their training and took action to defend the officer's life and those of the public around him. And I don't know of any peaceful protester that shows up with a gun and ammunition rather than a sign.
Noem also highlighted the growing rift between the Trump administration and Minnesota officials, saying they are choosing the side of criminals and murderers over citizens of Minneapolis. Tonight's Warriors game against the Minnesota Timberwolves at Target Center has been postponed as a result of the protest. The Warriors flew there yesterday for the matchup. The NBA says the decision was made to prioritize safety. The game has been moved to tomorrow at 2:30 our time. And stay with us as we continue to follow the latest in Minneapolis on air, online at kpix.com, and streaming on the free CBS News app. Well, thousands of pro-life activists from across the state held a march in San Francisco this afternoon. The 22nd annual event started with a rally in Civic Center Plaza. Then supporters gathered their signs and hit Market Street for a march to Embarcadero Plaza. Here is a look at how abortion rights look across the United States. Following the end of Roe v. Wade, many states rushed to make their own laws around abortion. Many of the states marked in red in this map, including Texas and Florida, have the most restrictive laws around abortion, while states marked green, like New York and California, have laws that protect abortion rights. The states in yellow allow abortion with restrictions that vary depending on the state. One supporter says about why she was there.
I really just hope that people see, the humanity of the pro-life community and the humanity of the children. We were all there once. We were all in our mother's womb once. That's something that we truly all have in common.
Counter-protesters question the motive for having the parade in San Francisco, saying this parade is designed to be a stunt.
Though this is happening in San Francisco, it doesn't really necessarily mean that a lot of San Franciscans are out here in the March for Life. It really is sort of, I think, done as a show of aggression and force. I think here they want to sort of be antagonistic and rile people up.
The Walk for Life West Coast March and Rally is the second largest in the nation, behind the March for Life held every year in our nation's capital. Well, 50 flights have been canceled and 72 have been delayed at San Francisco International Airport today. That is due to a storm currently causing havoc across the Midwest, South and East Coast of the United States. Snow and ice blanket roads in Amarillo, Texas, and St. Louis, Missouri. But kids in Nashville are making the most of the weather, breaking out their sleds and riding downhill. Meteorologist Darren Peck is tracking that winter storm for us, Darren.
Andrea, we have not seen the virtual map look quite like this since we've started showing weather in this format. Look at the size of this storm. It looks like a Neapolitan almost. You've got the snowy white going across the northern tier of it. The pink in the middle is where the ice storm is, and then some fairly intense rain on the southern end of it. There is a lot in terms of what the storm's bringing. There's a lot of the country that's going to be impacted by it. I think the most important thing to do is to focus on the ice. I just want to show you that in one quick view. Where is this going to be the biggest impact? When we take a look at where that ice is going to stretch, we just watched the storm move across the midsection of the country. The areas in deep red here are going to have a coating of a couple of inches of ice. Other areas will have enough coating of ice that it's almost like the entire communities, cities, will have to almost shut down. You won't be able to travel. Power outages, because the cables, the power lines are going to be so heavy from the ice that they'll be snapping and you're going to have widespread power outages from it. The ice is the biggest impact. There is snow with this. You can see what that looks like. The snow comes a little bit later and is primarily focused up here through the Northeast. But look where it's going. Boston, New York, Pittsburgh, Louisville. All of those places are going to experience this. And the last thing that we need to see on this storm is after we've had the ice go through and cause widespread power outages through this southern part of the country, on Monday, after that all happens, that's when the real cold air is coming down. So that might be the biggest impact. No power, sub-freezing temperature setting in for days. That could be the big story next week. See you with our weather coming up in a bit. Andrea, back to you.
All right, thank you so much, Darren. That sounds awful. Well, the sports community in Newark is up in arms after coaches at Newark Memorial High School are being told they will be let go by the end of the school year. Some are already out of jobs as their season ended in fall. John Ramos spoke with a coach about the new policy.
The coaches were first informed about the decision back in December, but so far, the reason for the change in policy has not yet been publicly revealed. It may have been a Saturday, but the Newark Memorial High School soccer team was still hard at work, and so was the team's coach. And that's why the decision revealed on Thursday had parents scratching their heads.
It was out of nowhere. It was something that just out of nowhere.
Jasmine Padilla has a son on the team, and she, like a lot of parents and students, is upset by a district announcement that the coaches and assistants on every one of the school's sports teams will be terminated at the end of their seasons. They will then be allowed to reapply for the position.
These coaches have been here for so long. I came here to high school. So many parents have been here to this high school, and they've been here for over 10 years. So it's just surprisingly that it's a decision that why all of a sudden they're doing this.
As a parent, do you think the district owes you an explanation of what's going on?
I feel like they owe everybody an explanation, not just myself, but everybody.
In a written statement, the school's HR director explained that the purpose is to strengthen its hiring practice for coaches to complete required vetting and background checks for student safety.
I've been a teacher here for a long time. I've been fingerprinted many times, and I'm not sure what why we're all lumped into one group. If there's some coaches that weren't fingerprinted or weren't background checked, I would think that they would start with them first.
Gordon Crosby is the longtime head coach for the swim and water polo teams. He noticed that in the district statement it mentions releasing coaches at the end of each season, saying it is a common practice in most districts.
It's never happened before in my 30 plus years of coaching, and I've never heard of it happening anywhere else, that coaches have to reapply every single season of every single year.
But what isn't mentioned is why the policy is changing at this time and with such urgency. It has people wondering if the district is in some kind of legal jeopardy because of a coach. And by doing background checks on every coach every year, it could cast a shadow of suspicion on anybody and everybody.
I think they should just let everybody know if there is, just so nobody is doubting or has any thoughts of what ifs and buts.
The district insists it's just a harmless change to its human resources hiring policy to ensure the school has a quality coaching staff.
I would think that they would have the foresight to see that this is not going to attract quality candidates to a school, but it's going to chase them away.
The district did not respond to our request for comment today, and while the superintendent is taking responsibility for the way the matter was communicated, that won't be for long. The district is currently searching for her replacement as she is set to retire at the end of the school year. Well, coming up, the once bustling San Francisco Center has shut down for good. What led to the earlier than expected closure? Up next. It is an end of an era for shopping in downtown San Francisco. The city's largest mall, San Francisco Center, has closed its doors earlier than expected. We saw signs posted outside the entrance saying closed until further notice. San Francisco Center was scheduled to close on Monday. The mall was once a bustling hub for shopping, but had struggled with foot traffic coming out of the pandemic. Well, it's hard to believe that is happening, but for more on the weather now, here is Darren Peck.
Well, we had quite the change today, Andrea. You might have noticed it was sunny today, and that's a huge contrast to yesterday. The Thule fog really built in yesterday, and we were looking at gray skies everywhere. Go ahead and get close up, look at the bay. Take a look at those locations there that we're just looking at clear skies all day. We had a little bit of offshore wind that came through. In fact, let's switch up our perspective. What you don't see, we didn't even really feel it down at the lower elevations where we live. But look at the streamlines there going out off the coast. There were 30-mile-an-hour wind gusts this morning going across the North Bay Mountains. You can kind of see how the winds up here are speeding up over the ridgetops. We didn't have to feel that. But what we did get the benefit of was the fact that there was clearly a directional shift in the wind. Offshore winds like that, meaning they are going offshore, are coming from inland. It's drier. And when they go downhill, they warm up. That's also part of the story of today. No doubt you probably also noticed. It's kind of warm out there today. Some of us got to the low 70s in the North Bay. Everybody else was doing like mid to upper 60s. Tomorrow, with relatively clear skies, because we're not going to be pulling in the Thule fog or the marine layer stratus tomorrow. So it will be, it's going to be a little bit colder in places, but nothing dramatic. You take a look at the numbers on here. They're still doing a lot of low 40s, but we're going to 38 in Livermore. You got to go back to 35 for the North Bay valleys. Let's see where we'll be for daytime highs tomorrow. And this will be a lot like today. If you liked today, tomorrow is a kind of a carbon copy repeat. Let's get the daytime highs on there so you can see where we'll be. A lot of low 60s in the South Bay, maybe some mid to upper 50s in general. But it's going to be another beautiful day. We might even come in a degree or two above some of these numbers. What happened to the rain? It's been a while. And as we take a look off the coast, what you see on the satellite is a pretty good looking storm, but we're not really getting any of it here. In fact, the storm that was just off our coast is going to loop down to the south, and it's kind of this big mass of clouds. That was the national picture we looked at the top of the newscast. So we missed that one. But there is another one, just enough off the screen there, that if we look at the forecast imagery that takes us out beyond, and let's take a look at the timing on this. Tuesday night. Not a lot to this, but there's a little bit of rain showing up here. That's Tuesday night at 9:30. I think we notice this as we get closer to midnight. And then it rains midnight into the pre-dawn hours into Wednesday, 3 a.m. So maybe some noticeable rain for the North Bay, but not big totals. You'll see the totals in a second. It's not a big deal, but at least a little bit of rain coming down there. And then as we advance it in through the rest of the day on Wednesday, clears out, we're done. That's our only chance. It's not a lot, but it's maybe about 0.2 of an inch of rain that we'll get from that system as it comes through. That is our next chance. And it's, boy, it's been so quiet around here. It's going to stay quiet for a while. You take a look at the chance of showers there on Wednesday. Probably we'll see some Thule fog build in after that, but that's getting us towards the end of next week. And when you look at Sunday and Monday on there, I think by Tuesday, maybe a little more Thule fog as well in the morning. But for the next couple of mornings, certainly not tomorrow morning, probably not Monday either, but maybe on Tuesday, you see a little more fog build in. That's it.
The Bay Area is mourning the loss of 49ers legend John Brodie, who died Friday at the age of 90. A native of the Bay through and through, we take a look back at his incredible life.
All right, look, if we call a 60 fullback trail, either way, it was going to the weak side, and if they blitz halfback, just pass him up. I'll dump it to the fullback, and baby, we got a piece of cake. At least we can get him out of it.
He called his own plays. John Brodie was the definition of a Bay Area sports legend. Born in Menlo Park in 1935, Brodie grew up to become a standout athlete at Oakland Tech. He went on to play college football at Stanford, where he was a consensus All-American and also played on the school's golf team.
Led by All-American John Brodie and Paul Wiggin, the Indians overwhelmed the Bears 19-0.
Brodie nearly chose golf as a career, but ultimately chose football and was taken third overall in the 1957 NFL Draft by the 49ers. He played the entirety of his 17-year career in the NFL for San Francisco.
385!
Brodie was a two-time Pro Bowler, led the league in passing 3 times, and was named MVP of the 1970 season. He was also one of the first players in history to be mic'd up during a game.
But see, now he's coming over to take you. That's why I've got that other side out there pretty good shape.
Who's coming over?
The free safety. He's going to be on you. You're his man. Whenever they go with a 48 EG, you're his man. You're Mel's man. You're saying he can't get you, huh?
No.
His jersey, number 12, is retired by the team, and he was inducted to the 49ers Hall of Fame in the inaugural class of 2009. Brodie never won a Super Bowl with San Francisco, but many believe he should be a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
I'm John Brodie of the San Francisco 49ers, and I've had my first visit to the Pro Football Hall of Fame here in Canton, Ohio.
You read all the statistics that were there, playing with him, knowing and comparing him to guys that I saw play, how he was. I mean, it's a travesty that he's not.
He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, look, this guy in 1970 was the MVP of the league.
Brodie was also accomplished on the golf course. He won the Bing Crosby Pebble Beach Pro-Am as an amateur in 1970. The same year he was named NFL MVP. Brodie went on to have a successful career on the Senior Tour and won the 1991 Security Pacific Classic.
John, you and I go way back in the late 60s, as I recall, when we played an alumni match at Stanford Golf Club. We came to the 8th hole, where I made a hole-in-one, but you still kicked my butt that day.
Brodie had a dream career in athletics, but he will be remembered most for who he was as a man and as a teammate.
I've always loved him. He's still my favorite person of all time that I met in my whole entire NFL career.
Why?
Well, he treated me like a little brother, man. You know, and when I got here, he took me places. He made sure that I was comfortable, and he exposed me to stuff that could have taken years for me to get exposed to. A lot of it good.
Closer and smoother.
No, wait.
That's how they shave me.
Yeah, that's not the way I said it, John.
Yeah, but I'm the quarterback.
The first time I touched the ball in the NFL was a touchdown pass from John Brodie. And I'll tell you, it was just, he's been my idol ever since.
Obviously revered by his teammates.
Yeah.
Just an incredible life.
What a wonderful guy. It just
Yeah.
seems like he was really loved by a lot of his teammates. Do you have a favorite off-season Giants move?
Well, they purchased the Curran Theater, so that's really exciting.
There we
for
go.
them.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, the reason why I asked, the Giants are getting fans pumped up for the upcoming baseball season. Today was the second stop of their FanFest tour in San Ramon. Fans had a chance to meet current players like outfielder Jung-Hoo Lee and pitcher Landon Roop. We spoke to two sisters who are big fans of the Giants. New manager Tony Vitello.
Tony Vitello, the new guy. We already saw him. He's very nice. We're hopeful for his tenure.
Well, the Giants FanFest tour's next stop is next Saturday in Sacramento. It is going to be held at Sutter Health Park. Coming up, the Bay Area's super flu season has now turned deadly. We'll be hearing from an expert at UC San Francisco on why this year is so severe.
From CBS News Bay Area, this is the Evening Edition.
Welcome back. San Francisco health officials are reporting their first 2 flu deaths of the season. Both of them were adults. And joining us now is Dr. Peter Chin Hong from UCSF. Peter, thank you for making the time for us again tonight. 2 flu-related deaths were reported in San Francisco this week, but we don't know much more about these cases. What can you tell us about this flu season and the severity of the virus?
Well, Andrea, a lot more people are getting flu this season because it's a little bit of a souped-up variant. It's called subtype K that arose at the end of August, and the components of the vaccine were decided in February of last year. So it's not an exact match, but nevertheless, we know that it is still effective.
Now, we are told that out of the 2 flu deaths, that 1 person was vaccinated, 1 was not. And there's been this shift in guidance from the federal government on vaccines. How do you think it's impacting this season?
Well, I think it means that we know for sure, based on data, that the vaccination rates are declining over time, particularly in kids. So before the pandemic, about 60% of kids were vaccinated for flu. This year, the rate is about 44%. So it has gone down, but compared to last year, it's about stable. Again, with this variant, we're unfortunately expecting more deaths based on that low vaccination rate.
So I had 2 sick kiddos at home, and I'm hesitant to take them to the doctor because usually they're like, well, just fluids and rest. But if you take your kids to the doctor when the first symptoms come, are there drugs that can really help them?
Yes, definitely. I think that many people don't realize that medicines and flu can help both in terms of preventing the very young and very old, especially from going to the hospital, even in people who have not been vaccinated. And the other thing that's interesting is that, say you, Andrea, got flu at home, but you live with elderly parents or immune compromised relatives in the household, you can actually get medicine prescribed to them so that they don't get flu. So that is also indicated. But you have to get the medicines within 1 to 2 days for it to really work well. That's why early diagnosis is key.
Yeah, act fast. All right. Well, before you go, Dr. Peter Chin-Hong, I have to also touch on measles and what's going on there. There was a first measles case of an unvaccinated child in Napa County since 2012. Again, the shift on guidance on vaccines here might be impacting childhood vaccinations the most. How concerned is the medical community about this disease kind of flourishing?
We're very concerned. Primarily because there are mixed messages with the federal government liberalizing their views on vaccines, whereas the professional organizations, some states like California and others, really going, sticking with what we know to work. And I think this difference in messaging is making a lot of people confused.
All right, Dr. Peter Chin-Hong from UCSF, thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, Andrea.
All right, well, coming up, a check-in on farm worker conditions in Half Moon Bay 3 years after a tragic mass shooting brought the issue to light. This week marks 3 years since a gunman opened fire at 2 mushroom farms in Half Moon Bay. 7 people were killed and injured 1 other person. Investigators say the first shooting happened at California Terra Gardens, where the suspect, Chun-Lu Zhao, worked. He shot 5 people there, killing 4 of them. Then investigators say he went to Concord Farms, where he worked in the past, and killed 3 people. Then he surrendered to authorities. Pedro Romero Perez was one of the 8 people shot that day. He was a lone survivor. His brother was killed in the shooting. He talked about the difficulty of moving forward after losing someone so close to him.
What I can say is it has been 3 years, and I don't expect it. It was 1 second that changed my whole life. For me, it's really difficult this day. But what can I do? I'm trying to get well, but I remember him every day.
The shooting also revealed unthinkable living conditions for farm workers in Half Moon Bay, many forced to live in crowded sheds and shelters. Since then, San Mateo County and farm worker advocates have worked on developing a more dignified housing situation. Max Darrow has a look at the progress.
In the aftermath of a tragedy, hope is often what keeps people moving. And in Belinda Hernandez Arriaga's case, it's a hope that farm workers will have a better life as a result of a day that changed Half Moon Bay forever.
It's actually emotional because I think 2026 is going to be the year that it gets finally done and we move forward with this dream.
She's looking at 555 Kelly.
Imagine
the
it.
next step in building more dignified housing for coastside farm workers.
Seeing this space really gives me hope that we can make a difference in their lives.
This is what it'll look like when all is said and done. 40 affordable apartments for senior farm workers.
The tragedy really opened up people's hearts and minds to see what was happening behind the scenes.
The mass shooting 3 years ago exposed an unspoken reality to the world. Farm workers were living in deplorable conditions, in trailers, sheds, and shacks with no running water or electricity. Since then, community, local, and state leaders have made changing that reality a top priority. And Hernandez Arriaga, the founder of Ayudando Latinos a Soñar, or ALAS, a group that works to empower and advocate for the coastside's Latino community, thinks good is growing from the tragedy.
Progress is happening. More is needed, but change is happening.
One major development is done. 50 brand new units for farm workers.
Those families are so happy every day, and it's making a difference.
San Mateo County Supervisor Ray Mueller thinks so too.
We built 50 freestanding homes.
He says efforts go beyond building homes. The county created a farm worker housing task force to put all existing farm worker housing in the county under a microscope.
And in some circumstances, we cited owners. In other circumstances, we worked with those owners to go ahead and fix the living conditions there. And in some circumstances, we let the owners know that they couldn't have anyone living there any longer. We actually had to do a red tag.
He described farm workers as
intrinsic both to the culture of the coast and so important to the economy of the coast.
And says there is more work to be done.
We still have farm worker housing on the coast that needs to be improved. We have more units we need to build.
The community is still healing.
I feel the emotions arise. It's still painful. We knew those farm workers that passed away.
Hope for a better future for our neighbors, says Hernandez Arriaga, does make a difference.
In pain and suffering, there's also love and hope and light that comes up through this journey, and they're there for us.
And she says it is crucial to show the farm workers that the community is there for them, too.
Zhao's next court date is Friday on January 30th. Prosecutors say they will seek the death penalty when this goes to trial. Well, coming up, a plan is underway to reduce collisions in one of California's most dangerous highways for wildlife. Plus, you've probably seen musicians and dancers while on BART, but what about comedians? More on that show that's bringing Sketchfest on the rails. Darren?
Coming up in the First Alert forecast, we're still on track to get the first rain in weeks. And it's going to show up by the time we get to about the middle of this coming week. We'll time it out, show you what the latest thinking on it is, how much we might actually get. And, oh, by the way, did you notice how sunny and beautiful it was today? Totally different than yesterday. How do we do that kind of whiplash? We'll talk about that as well. Forecast coming up.
Your community, your news, powered by KPIX. CBS News Bay Area. Watch anywhere, anytime. Stay informed and connected. Trusted local news when you want it. CBS News Bay Area. Watch free on any device.
An effort in Santa Clara County to save wild animals from getting hit by cars. Len Ramirez has more on the VTA Wildlife Crossing Project.
Well, this is a major step toward protecting wildlife and drivers, and it will all soon be taking shape down there in this key location of Coyote Valley.
Oh yeah, you could just see the herds way on the top of the peaks where they feel safer, where they got a good vantage point.
Roger Castillo has been walking these hills in South San Jose for decades. A longtime conservationist, he's documented how wildlife, including the Thule elk, have pushed closer to the edges of Silicon Valley.
That's the way it was historically, and you know, animals move around, all animals move around.
From a distance, you can see the clash, wildlife framed against one of the most developed regions of the country.
Animals are our indicators. If we see them disappearing, something's going wrong with the way we live.
And that's where a new project in the Coyote Valley comes in. Engineer Zaire Gulzada with the Valley Transportation Authority is leading a project to design a wildlife tunnel where the valley narrows to restore an historic connection between two mountain ranges, the Diablo Range to the east and the Santa Cruz Mountains to the west.
We are trying to create a super highway for wildlife.
The plan calls for large tunnels similar to this Concrete Creek channel running underneath Highway 101, Monterey Road, and Union Pacific train tracks. Construction would cause little to no traffic disruption, and it would benefit drivers as much as wildlife.
So for instance, deer, they do have to cross these major roadways. And if they come in conflict with the vehicle, of course there's a collision, and that's a safety for both the motorists as well as that wildlife that collides with.
According to one UC Davis study, the 1 mile stretch of Highway 101 that crosses Coyote Creek is in the top 5% of annual wildlife vehicle collision costs per mile in California.
We're trying to address safety as well as mobility for wildlife.
The project is funded by the Peninsula Open Space Trust, known as POST, which received a $5 million grant to pay for the work.
The best way to ensure that animals will find and use the crossing is to place them where we know animals are already trying to cross the road. So there's been really wonderful evidence of wildlife finding and using wildlife crossing. So if you build them, they will come.
There's quite a large population of deer, and now of course the elk.
Roger, who's not directly involved in this project, says conservation efforts like this can't come soon enough.
It's long overdue, and it's really minimal.
The project aims to restore balance, not just for wildlife, but for the entire ecosystem we all share.
All right, in the first alert forecast, we're going to look ahead to this chance of rain getting here on Tuesday and Wednesday. But before we get there, we just need a moment to look back and talk about what happened today. It was gorgeous. Barely a cloud, sunny, relatively warm. Totally different from yesterday. It wouldn't have been that big a deal today if yesterday wasn't as gray as it was. Tule fog really took over. Marine layer stratus filled in most of the valley. Santa Rosa never saw the sun yesterday. And then today it was like it never even happened. You're looking at the last 7 hours of satellite on here. Pretty beautiful. What happened? We got some help. Very subtle, but look at the wind streams. This shifted overnight. It turned on starting really at about like midnight. You can see the streamlines are going out the Golden Gate. That's backwards. Normally the wind goes in. That's our part of the world. We're in the westerlies. It's always coming in. But we get our offshore winds from time to time. And then they have a significant impact on the weather that we experience. And in this case, that turned on last night. We're going to get it for one more day. So tomorrow's probably going to look and feel very similar to today. Still be relatively cold in the morning. Let's start out by taking a look at those morning lows. Maybe a few places you'll go to the mid-30s, especially these inland valleys. You'll be doing it, but I don't think we will for the Bay. Look at the North Bay numbers. You'll do it. You'll go down to the mid-30s tomorrow. All right, let's switch up for daytime highs, just so you can pick out your part of the Bay now. And there are some more low 60s on here, and it does look pretty good. We've got a chance of rain coming our way, so let's go out and find it. We'll take a look now at the wider satellite imagery. Head out into the Pacific. I'm going to switch from clouds. We'll look at two different models on here. Here comes the first one. This would be the chance for rain using the American model, which does show us a few light showers that will get here by the time we get to about Tuesday, Wednesday. Right there, right then. Not a lot, but there is some rain with it. Let's look at it another way, because regular watchers will have noted already the European model's better. It's just better, especially when you're looking at 4 or 5 days. So let's look at that one. And that one shows us, with a little bit more in terms of the specifics and location, what its thinking has been fairly consistent for about the last 6 days. Light rain, the only thing it's done is it's moved it up a little bit. So it's a little earlier now than it was. So this is now Tuesday night. And you can see it comes through Tuesday night, going into early Wednesday morning. There's not a lot there. And by the time we get to Wednesday morning, it's done. There's not, you might not even know. And by the way, did you see the Tule fog started filling in the valley right away by the time we get to Thursday and Friday? So there are your totals, maybe about 0.2 of an inch of rain. Really not a lot of rain from that system coming our way, but at least there will be some rain with it. and we'll keep tracking it. We'll have the latest in the details as we get closer to it. You see it in the 7-day forecast. There's our Wednesday with some showers on it. Thule fog fills back in after that on Thursday. I think we will also see the Thule fog return a bit more on Tuesday morning. Not terribly widespread, but it will start to rebound from this pretty nice offshore wind that's given us a gorgeous weekend. Might see a little more Thule fog by Tuesday, but Tuesday night it's done anyway because then the rain comes back. All right, Andrea, back to you.
No more dating men? You have already dated? I'm done with that!
Well, Bay Area comedians brought the laughs on BART today as part of Sketchfest. Performers deliver their best punchlines in 15-minute sets. BART writers get to enjoy the jokes through specifically provided headphones, and they say they enjoyed the unique experience.
I love Sketchfest. I love sketch comedy, and this seems like a really unique way to kind of bring people together on public transportation.
Well, this is just one of the 200 shows happening for this year's Sketchfest. Up next, a telephone booth between the most progressive city in the country and the most conservative. What happened when we sent a reporter to pick up the phone? It's coming up next. And you remember you can watch us anytime, anywhere on our streaming service, CBS News Bay Area. Catch all of our live newscasts, plus news and weather updates throughout the day. You can find us on the free CBS News app or on Pluto TV. Beautiful shot of the Golden Gate Bridge tonight. Well, we do know that the 49ers will not be at the Super Bowl, but by this time tomorrow, we will know which teams will be going to the Super Bowl 60. And tonight, we're learning more about who will not be at the game, and that will be President Trump. In an interview with the New York Post, the president said he was not fond of the performers. Last week, we learned Green Day will kick off the Super Bowl. Bad Bunny, he will perform at halftime. Both endorsed Kamala Harris in 2024. But that is not the only reason why President Trump won't be making the trip to Santa Clara. President Trump says it is just too far away. And what happens when a Democrat in California chats with a Republican in Texas? No, it's not a setup for a punchline, but it is the premise of this experiment. A local startup installed a telephone booth in San Francisco with a direct line to an identical one in Abilene, Texas. Suji Nam went over to check out the social experiment and what she heard when she first picked up the phone.
Hey, this is Chris calling from San Francisco. Who am I speaking with? What's up, Shane? How you doing?
Tucked away in a corner along Valencia Street.
Oh, it's very awesome, yeah.
Chris Renfro is talking to a complete stranger in Abilene, Texas.
What's the wildest thing you've seen as a correctional officer?
It's called the party line. In San Francisco, the phone states, "Call a Republican," and a phone booth in Abilene encourages Texans to call a Democrat in San Francisco.
Hey, see? We're already connected, dude.
Tech startup Matter Neuroscience recently launched the project. The company says the goal is to, quote, find biomarkers for happiness. Using data from the 2024 elections, the company wanted to connect people in one of the most liberal cities in America with people living in a conservative town of about 130,000 people.
My mom lives in San Antonio, so I figured call somebody in the South and see what they're up to.
So I picked up the phone myself.
Hello, this is Suji here in San Francisco.
And the owner of the bookshop hosting the phone booth in Abilene picked up.
Try to connect human to human, and it doesn't really matter what our opinions are. We could be different on a whole variety of topics, but at the end of the day, we share humanity.
Talking about politics is encouraged, but it's also as simple as just getting to know someone. And for Christopher, he hopes that with more candid conversations at the phone booth, more people are encouraged to visit the Bay one day.
No matter what their views or beliefs are, I think it's fun to be able to just be a positive individual, share that energy across the country.
Because you just never know. how life-changing that one phone call could be.
What a wonderful way to bring people together. The phones will be up for the next month or so. The calls are recorded. Matter Neuroscience plans to post some of the best conversations on their social media pages. And Darren, did I hear rain again?
You did.
I did, okay.
It's not a lot this time, though, and you got a couple of days. Tomorrow, second half of the weekend.
Okay.
Just as nice as today.
Perfect.
I think that's probably headline, really.
Right.
But the rain that does get here, it's like late Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, and it's done. It doesn't look like a lot either, so I don't even think it'd have a big impact on the drive. It's just technically rain.
Gosh, but East Coast, I mean, that's going to be miserable conditions if the power is out and then the cold really comes.
Yep.
I can't imagine for those folks. Hopefully everybody will be okay. Thank you for watching. We'll see you back here at 11. Until then,